Jesus' way of the cross begins at Pilate's Praetorium. It is the only encounter between the two, but Pilate's life was marked forever. In Jerusalem, every week, priests and deacons from the Latin parish bring the Eucharist to the sick and the elderly. AVSI's charity event in support of the Ephpheta Paul VI Institute for Hearing-Impaired Children and Teenagers. The annual Women's Conference is now in its 8th year. This year, the reflection on the theme of music. The foundation that helps cancer patients in Nazareth is 10 years old.
Ci troviamo all'inizio della Via Dolorosa.
We are at the beginning of the Via Dolorosa. We are in the Muslim quarter of today's Jerusalem. This is the place where the Antonia fortress once stood, erected by Herod to monitor everything that happened on the then temple esplanade. From this place, Jesus took the first steps on his way of the cross.
Sua Via Crucis.
We continue our journey of discovery of the gospel figures who met Jesus during the day of his passion. Friar Enrico Majorano guides us to get to know Pontius Pilate. Today in this place we find the Church of the Flagellation and the Chapel of Condemnation. It is the place that tradition from the Crusader period identifies as the Praetorium of Pilate. That is the place where Jesus was interrogated, scourged and sentenced to death.
Questo è l'unico momento.
This is the only time Pilate and Jesus meet. But who was Pilate? He was the procurator who, on behalf of Rome for about 10 years, from 26 to 36 AD, was in charge of administering the problematic province of Judea. Pilate was a man without scruples. He used the temple's treasure for his building works, quelled riots in blood, and had no concern for the religious sensibilities of the people. Yet John's Gospel, when it speaks of this episode, shows us Pilate continually going in and out of the Praetorium, seeming to go into crisis and for no apparent reason, seeming to want to free Jesus. But in the end he gives in to the pressures of the crowd and condemns him to death. Matthew's Gospel tells us about the famous gesture of Pilate washing his hands. It is a gesture that the Jews knew well because it is the sign of one who recognizes before God his innocence. From this moment, Pilate becomes the symbol of those who seek low-cost solutions.
Pilato ha incontrato solo per pochi istanti.
Pilate only met Jesus for a few moments, but these few moments were fundamental to his life, so much so that they totally upset him. The Coptic Orthodox Church venerates Pilate and his wife as saints. According to this tradition, Pilate would have returned to Rome, and there at the point of death he would have converted to Christianity, and for this he was executed by the Senate. Be that as it may, Pilate remains the Roman procurator of a turbulent province on the edge of the empire, and would have fallen into the oblivion of history were it not for the fact that he met Jesus and actively participated, despite himself, in the condemnation of Jesus. We begin the Via Dolorosa. On the next leg of our journey we will stop at the 5th station, where Simon of Cyrene ran into Jesus. Every Monday, priests and deacons from the Latin parish of Jerusalem go to visit people, the elderly and the sick, who are unable to go to church and attend Mass, and they bring them the Eucharist.
الهدف من هاي الزيارات هو إنه كل شخص اللي مريض اللي ما
The purpose of these visits is for the Church to be present next to each sick person and allow them to be nourished by the body and blood of Christ. We offer these people the opportunity to go to confession and to approach the Eucharist. We pray with them. Sometimes some have family or psychological problems, so we try to help them according to our possibilities both from a spiritual point of view and in other aspects.
نحاول نساعدهم بحسب قدرتنا من ناحية روحية ومرات من نواحي أخرى كمان.
Says the Lord, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was sick, and you visited me." Thus the priest, accompanied by the deacons, moves from one house to another through the alleys of the old city of Jerusalem to relieve the pain and loneliness of the weakest.
Finding people who take care of you spiritually when you are unable to go to church for whatever reason, like old age or illness, is very nice.
The smiles on the faces of the elderly express gratitude for the visit, but also for the opportunity to participate fully in the meaning of the Eucharist, the sacrament of communion, of union with Jesus.
أنا بحس كتير ضروري إنه أخذ القربان.
I think it's very important to receive the Eucharist, because even if I go to church but don't approach the Eucharist, it's like I didn't go. Whoever eats my body and drinks my blood abides in me and I in him. I invite not only the sick and the elderly, but also the young to go to Mass and receive the Eucharist.
الصبايا إنه يتوجهوا للكنيسة وما يفوتوا القداديس.
أنا بدعو كل واحد منهم إنه إذا بيحتاج.
I invite anyone who is home and unable to attend Mass or who has any other spiritual reason to contact the parish so that we can go visit them.
يتصلوا معنا على الخورانية وبكل محبة منروح ومنزورهم.
Just as Christ does not forget the sick and helpless, the Church does not forget her children. Supporting hearing-impaired children and young people living in the Palestinian territories in their right to education. With this aim, the Italian association AVSI organised a charity event on March the 3rd in Bethlehem in favour of the Ephpheta Paul VI Institute, specialised in audio-phonetic re-education on hearing-impaired children. Present were the Apostolic Delegate for Jerusalem and Palestine, Adolfo Tito Iana, the Latin Patriarchal Vicar, Monsignor William Shomali, and the Regional Director of the Pontifical Mission in Jerusalem, Yosef Hasbun.
Infatti appunto sosteniamo 120 bambini.
We support 120 children within the school, thanks to the support of Italian donors who helped them to obtain a high-quality education service that they could not have otherwise. Sister Amal Hijazin, speech therapist and head of classes at Ephpheta Institute's kindergarten, explains that the school students make up just 1% of those in Palestinian society with hearing and speech disorders. Ephpheta Institute is also the only one that uses the oral method to teach them to speak.
I have been taking my son to school here since the first year, and it was crucial for him to learn to speak. My son is deaf, and when I brought him, he didn't speak at all. Today, thanks to God, he speaks very well. I am grateful to the school. The nuns and teachers have given me great help.
They teach us Arabic, maths, sports, science, and English. I would like to study medicine when I grow up.
We prepare students and help them choose the most appropriate major for them in college. When they finish college, we help them look for jobs, communicate with institutions so that we can place them in workplaces so that they can gain experience.
AVSI provides students with 2 scholarships per year to enable them to continue their university studies.
Quindi per questo da qui è nato l'impegno insieme appunto alla gestione.
Together with the direction of the Ephpheta Institute, we decided to organize this dinner, not only a moment of fundraising and therefore a moment to concretely help the school in the difficult years of the coronavirus, but also and above all, a moment to make this institution, which provides a unique service in the entire West Bank, better known.
All'interno di tutta la Cisgiordania.
We have received financial support through AVSI, thanks to contacts with responsible or well-known people in the region. who have helped us to continue our work, especially this year, which coincides with the school's 50th anniversary.
The Institute was founded in 1971 at the invitation of Pope Paul VI, following his pilgrimage to the Holy Land in 1964. Ephpheta, open yourself, is the word with which Jesus restored hearing to a deaf person and is today the name of the Institute. The Church wishes to thank the Most Holy Trinity for the mystery of woman, and for every woman, for the great works of God which in the history of human generations have been accomplished in her and through her. This is what Pope John Paul II wrote in his apostolic letter Mulieris Dignitatem, words that echo in the inscription at the base of the dome in the shrine of Magdala on the Sea of Galilee.
Este atrio que llamamos el atrio de las mujeres. El atrio de las mujeres porque
We call this space the Women's Atrium because the columns bear the names of the women who accompanied Jesus. We are located in Migdal, which is a variation of Magdala. The idea was to make a center for pilgrims here, and with that intent the land was bought. But in the preparation of the site we discovered an important part of the ancient city of Magdala. These are ruins from the time of Jesus Christ.
Parte importante de la antigua ciudad de Magdala son ruinas del tiempo de Jesucristo.
Magdala, according to tradition, is the city from which came the one who witnessed the crucifixion and was the first to see the risen Jesus, Mary Magdalene. The 8th annual Women's Conference, sponsored by the Magdalena Institute, was held here.
Well, the Women's Encounter here in Magdala is actually something that we've had since 2015. And so our brochure has the different topics we've been covering for the past years. And Magdala is a place where women are, in a very special way, they're treated specially. This is a place for women. And so the idea is to take an event which is a worldwide event, which is March is Women's Month. They have an International Women's Day. And to bring it down to a Christian perspective, but in the dialogue with what Magdala is.
Upon arrival, each guest received flowers to put on their heads or keep as a reminder of the event, which this year had a theme of music.
But looking for something which is universal, which is music. It's a universal language which brings people to wonder. It helps us, not just to only take a deep breath and to enjoy the beauty, but to look up to the Lord. And so that's one of the reasons why we chose music, because as it says in the title, it's one of the pathways to God. Beauty is one of his attributes, and so music itself is beautiful and universal.
Sisters from the Institute Servants of the Lord and the Virgin of Matara spoke about how music contributes to their mission in Gaza.
Bueno, nosotros pertenecemos al Instituto Servidoras del Señor y de la Virgen de Matará. Estamos en Tierra Santa hace 26 años.
We have been in the Holy Land for 26 years. We were invited to participate in this conference along with the missionary sisters in Gaza. It's really nice for us to be able to give testimony of our mission and what can be done in such a complicated place like Gaza.
Y por eso es algo muy hermoso para nosotros poder dar testimonio de nuestra misión y de lo que se puede hacer en un lugar tan difícil como es Gaza.
Participants delved into the topic with talks, but also got to showcase their talents.
Estoy participando en este evento, fui invitada con la gracia.
I take part with joy in this event. I sing the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. It is very nice for me to participate in this meeting.
Y ha sido muy bonito para mí poder estar y participar en este encuentro.
For this beautiful invitation that I received to participate in this lovely weekend, in this lovely Shabbat. So together with the scenery and the liturgy and bringing in together people from different faiths and women actually from different faiths.
Here is the innocence of children who cling to hope despite the pain tries to snatch from them the smile and love of life. The MARIAM Foundation of Nazareth was born in 2012 just to support these children, after the death of little Mariam Hamed from cancer at only 8 years old. The foundation, which bears her name, is the first institution in Arab society committed to the fight against cancer. The foundation was born after the death of my sister from cancer. It was born from the experience of suffering that we went through as a family, but also from having seen the difficulties that Palestinian patients have to face economically and psychologically in order to receive adequate treatment. That's how I came up with the idea of creating this foundation as a concrete point of help in our society. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me, says Jesus. Today, 10 years after its birth, the MARIAM Foundation is the only Arab institution that officially represents cancer patients before ministries, hospitals, and health insurance companies, without ethnic or religious discrimination. This has prompted the foundation itself to launch several programs, such as the daily accompaniment of children with cancer and their families in hospitals. The foundation also manages to provide financial help for the purchase of medicines outside the insurance basket, raising awareness of the disease and the importance of early diagnosis. Many initiatives arise from a personal experience of pain, but we are also a professional institution, so we have parameters to verify the success of our projects. Whether awareness of the importance of early diagnosis increases, how many children from Gaza and the West Bank we accompany on a daily basis, how much we invest to support treatment. We can say that with the action of the MARIAM Foundation, the rate of screening in Arab society has increased by 30%, and 60% of women undergo screening.
الموضوع هو إنساني في البداية، وتقريبا أنا من البداية في مؤسسة مريم.
It's a matter of humanity. I've been at the MARIAM Foundation since the beginning. We support the patients, we accompany the children. They are looking for this demonstration of affection, a hug. This helps them sustain their treatment and overcome the difficulties of the disease.
هذا العلاج اللي هو أكيد صعب، لكن هن فعلا بيقدروا ينجحوا بمساعدة مريم جوي.
Mariam Joy is the name of one of the most important projects of the MARIAM Foundation. Through this program, college students receive a symbolic reward to help in the transportation of small patients in the hospital, helping them to overcome their fears and support the difficulties.
مين أقوى مخلوق بالعالم؟
أنا.
مش عم بسمع.
أنا.
مش عم بسمع.
أنا.
The dream is to build the first home in the Middle East for Arab cancer patients, both adult and pediatric.
حلم كان سنين عم نحاول نشتغل عليه، بريطان أو بأوروبا بتلاقي بالأكثر.
It's a dream we've been working on for years, that this building becomes a home, Mariam's home, where patients come after their treatments in the hospital, where they can find music, activities such as gardening, but also find support in the listening groups. We would like to alleviate their suffering and give them a stimulating environment where they can meet people who have gone through the same experience and have a positive outlook on life. We would like to build 6 of these houses, and the biggest challenge is to do it in Gaza as well.
الناس مرقت بتجربته، البيت عملناه أول فرع له، أنا هيك بدي أسميه، لأنه إحنا بدنا 6. التحدي الأكبر إنه نوصل هذا البيت لغزة.
The MARIAM Foundation today has many ambassadors who carry on this mission and this message of solidarity and hope, which reflects the best face of humanity.